My name is Nancy, and I want to share with you my journey of discovery and recovery from a brain tumor. I wrote my story in 2020 and had my good friend read it as the introduction to my sacred recital of September 12th, 2021. This was the first project that my occupational therapist and I planned when I was at the Nova Scotia Rehabilitation Centre. I wanted to acknowledge in a tangible way the Nova Scotia medical community who literally saved my life. It was entitled From Bach to Burleigh, and it was a selection of 13 songs, sacred songs, from classical to spiritual, and it was a fundraiser. All the proceeds went to the Halifax Infirmary, the Nova Scotia Rehabilitation Centre, and the Valley Regional Hospital in Kentville, Nova Scotia. I don't feel it necessary to reread that story. Rather, continue from it, as I have learned so much since then. This video is entitled, A Massive Type 1 Meningioma is a Brain Changer. And yes, it is. I'd like to stress that my tumor was not diagnosed until I was 70 years old. As an aside, statistics show that women in their middle years far exceed men developing a meningioma. I am one of them. Just a bit of background. In 2017-2018, I was being treated for Parkinson's disease. I had all the symptoms. Tremors, cognitive decline, mobility and balance issues. But in 2019, my family physician wanted a second opinion, so he referred me to a neurologist who specialized in Parkinson's disease. After extensive examination, she remarked this wasn't a classic case of Parkinson's, and she requisitioned a CAT scan, a PET scan, and an MRI, which all took place on November 25th, 2019. This was the day that my husband's and my life changed. I was immediately admitted to the neurosurgical floor of the Halifax Infirmary, where I waited for 2 weeks for the surgical team to be assembled. On December 9th, 2019, I underwent an 8-hour surgery. I had no idea the seriousness of my situation. It wasn't until November 2020 that my husband and I were showed the MRI images from the November 25th, 2019. My surgeon didn't think that I would be able to grasp the situation at the time of the surgery, and went on to say that if they hadn't operated when they did, she estimated I had 4 to 5 weeks to live. She also said that it was a massive tumor. Well, I just thought massive was a descriptive adjective like a beautiful sunset or maybe a delicious roast beef dinner. I had no idea that massive was the determining measurement of the tumor. Let me read you a part of the MRI report. There is a large left frontal mass which is crossing the midline beneath the falx with a large amount of vasogenic edema within the left hemisphere. There are multiple hyperdensities within it, which may represent blood products or calcifications. The genu of the corpus callosum appears thickened on the left. The lesion is closely applied to the falx and may be originating from the structure. In view of the large size, it is not possible to determine whether this is originating intraaxially or extraaxially. The enhancement is relatively homogeneous, and most likely this is a massive meningioma here. Sulcal markings and ventricles on the left side are compressed by mass. There is no hyperostosis of the frontal bone. There is no bone destruction. No other lesions are seen intracranially. And their impression. A large left falcine frontal meningioma with vasogenic edema and shift. Focal areas centrally within this are hyperdense and may represent calcification or hemorrhage. The lesion is very large, and it is difficult to determine whether it could be intraaxial. The relatively homogeneous enhancement suggests an extraaxial lesion here. Well, as a layperson, this report was beyond my understanding. I did look up certain terms, and I found that edema is swelling caused by fluid or buildup, and debulking, which was in another part of the report, means reducing the size of the tumor. In my case, 80 to 85% of the tumor was removed, with the other 15 to 20% deemed inoperable because of it was deeply embedded in the blood vessels. Hence, I still have a brain tumor. For the rest of my life, I will be having an annual MRI, which will keep check on this remaining tumor. Massive defines the measurement of the lesion. Mine was spherical and 7.0 by 6.5 by 5.5 centimeters. My surgeon explained this in layman's terms, stating that it was the size of a large grapefruit by December 9th. It was calcified and had been growing for 35 to 40 years. Well, I imagined that it started off the size of a green pea, and then it became a walnut, a marshmallow, then a plum, then a lime. And she explained that all this time, my brain was making room for it. It became the size of an orange, and I was probably losing functioning by that time. But when it reached the grapefruit size, my brain could no longer adjust. Compressing nerves affecting vital organs was seriously impacting my ability to see, to hear, keep from falling, hormonal changes, and in the late 2019, I was incontinent. I was unable to remember things. My essence had disappeared. As the images showed, the midline dividing the two hemispheres had shifted, and my right hemisphere was almost off the screen. This is the creative side of the brain. All my life, I have been very creative, writing poetry while in high school, and then short stories, narrations for Christmas pageants, a musical drama, designing and constructing costumes. I was an accomplished seamstress, knit one-of-a-kind sweaters, had a registered label for my women's clothing. I'm a classically trained musician, first a pianist, and then a singer. I have performed solo recitals and sung the alto part in many oratorio from Eastern Ontario through the Eastern States to Bermuda. I've had a successful career teaching voice and piano. I had opportunities to establish numerous choruses, led hymn sings for seniors, solving crossword puzzles and cryptoquotes, baking, and preparing meals. They were daily routines for me. By 2018, it became necessary for me to stop teaching, lead hymn sings, conduct and accompany my gentleman's chorus. I could no longer remember what hand to hold the knitting needles in to cast on the stitches. I couldn't remember how to turn on or thread my sewing machine. I couldn't remember names. I couldn't remember the names of songs for hymn sings. I felt like I was treading water, hoping that someone would come and rescue me. And they did, December 9th, 2019. After surgery, I had a feeding tube. It became clogged. And when they tried to insert it for the third time in my left nostril, I absolutely refused. The only alternative was to provide me nutritious things through pureed food, as I hadn't regained my ability to swallow solid food of different consistencies. Christmas dinner 2019 is very memorable. It was pureed turkey, pureed potato, and pureed carrots. 2 attempts were made while at the infirmary to see if I had regained my ability to swallow. I failed both times. After being transferred to Kentville, 2 more attempts were made. I passed the test early in February after the 4th try. Little did I know that my transfer to the Nova Scotia Rehabilitation Centre was hinged on my ability to swallow solid food. I was transferred to the rehab center on February 13th, one day before Valentine's Day. My husband challenged me to write him a poem, and I did.